In this week's parasha, Ki Tissa, we learn about the Egel HaZahav, the golden calf, the terrible betrayal which the Jewish people betrayed Hashem and obviously betrayed themselves and their mission and mandate. And what is always striking to me is the response of Moshe when he finally confronts them. Moshe comes down from Mount Sinai with these tablets of stone created by God himself, on which is written the 10 statements, the 14 commandments, given to him by God, inscribed by God, and he takes these down and he sees the people with the golden calf, and these are the holiest items ever created, the holiest items in the entire world, and when Moshe sees them dancing around the calf, he smashes them. Now we certainly understand why he is not happy with them, we certainly understand why they are deserving of rebuke, but to do this through destroying such a holy object seems unexpected, seems surprising. The analogy that comes to my mind is, let's say you've got a community where some people are just out of control and behaving unacceptably. Shabbat morning in the shul, and the rabbi gets up and he lifts up the Torah and he rips it to shreds. You can't do that. You can't do that just because, whatever the problem is, that's not, surely that's not what should be done. And so, both Rabbi Moshe Feinstein and Rabbi Meir Simcha Dvinsk, the Meshech Chochma, explain that in fact, breaking the tablets was not simply a display of anger with what was at hand, a display of protest, but was actually intrinsically connected to the problem, was within itself carried with it the what they needed to know, the lesson that they needed to learn to correct what they had done wrong. And there are two approaches that they give as follows. I'll start with Rabbi Moshe Feinstein because it's somewhat more straightforward. Is that he says the problem that the Jewish people had was that they thought the Torah was too inaccessible. They thought that Torah was too holy for them, and therefore they said, this Torah, it's created by God. It's the tablets are themselves are made by God. The writings done by God, and what can we do? It's too much for us. We need a more earthly Torah. We need a more accessible Torah, and that's why he says when Moshe is commanded to make the second set of tablets, Moshe is commanded to carve those himself. Those second set of tablets are not carved by God. They're engraved. The script is done by God, but the tablets themselves are made by Moshe. Why? He says to show you that actually the Torah is a Torah that's accessible. The Torah is not given to the angels, the Torah is given to human beings. The Torah does not demand from us a standard of behavior that is beyond what a person can achieve. It's very much within our ability and within what we can do. Obviously, I think it goes without saying, it's not something that doesn't challenge us. It is very challenging. It's a high standard to strive for. But having a high standard to strive for is not the same as it being inaccessible. And Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says, in fact, that's why we talk about the Torah as Torah Moshe, the Torah of Moshe. Why is that the Torah of Moshe? It's the Torah of God. But the Torah of God sounds like it's an inaccessible Torah. You've got to make it clear that this is not an inaccessible Torah. So even though God certainly gave us the Torah, it is the Torah of Moshe, it is the Torah of a human being, it is the Torah with which we can all live. And therefore Moshe saw that part of the problem was the tablets. It's not just that, they're holy and everything, but the tablets themselves are not the goal. It's keeping what's on them, and we'll come to that more in a second. But that part of the problem was that the Torah was seen somehow as inaccessible. And it is so important that people understand that it is not inaccessible. It's not beyond us. It's not, as the Torah says in Devarim, right? It's not in heaven. It's not across the sea. Karov elecha davar me'od. The Torah, in fact, is very, very close to you. The other approach of the Meshech Chochma is to say that the problem of the golden calf was one of essentially finding a medium towards God. Was essentially one of saying we cannot connect to God directly. We need an intermediary. We need a holy thing, right? Hashem, God is not a thing. God is beyond things. So how do we who see ourselves as things connect to God who is not a thing? We need a holy thing. And so they got fixated on the holiness of things and the holiness, and even people. Holiness of something that's going to work with that transitional stage to connect us to God. And they fixated in that way on Moshe. That's what you find they say when they approached Aaron to build a golden calf. They say, Ish Moshe asher yilitanu me'eretz Mitzrayim. This man Moshe who took us out of Egypt, we don't know where he is. Moshe Chochmah says, what do you mean? Moshe didn't take you out of Egypt. Moshe spoke to Pharaoh. What did Moshe do? He spoke to Pharaoh, he says. He says, Hashem took you out of Egypt. But they hadn't achieved that level of abstractness. They wanted a holy thing. And he says they needed to learn that it wasn't things that were holy. It's God who is holy. It's our observance of mitzvot that are holy. It's our doing the right thing that is holy. It's the intangible. Yes, you have the idea of the holiness of things, but that is completely subsidiary to and dependent on the holiness of action, of behavior, of thought. That's what's really holy. That's what's really important. And so he says, if I bring down these tablets, I can smash the golden calf, but the tablets will become a golden calf. The point is not to become fixated on the holiness of things. And so that's why, for example, if, God forbid, a person was given the option of destroying a Torah or being killed, we would destroy the Torah. We would tear up that Torah scroll, not because it's not holy, but because that's not the source of holiness. The source for holiness is mitzvot. And the Torah says, V'chai behem, you must live. So if that's what the Torah tells us, then the holy thing in that situation is to live. And in fact, he says the second tablets, which were made by Moshe, which did not have that same capacity for the holiness fixation. He says the broken tablets and the new tablets were kept in the same ark, were kept in the same Aron Kodesh. Now the Gemara says that as a lesson, that a great Torah scholar who does not retain his capacities in his older age, and his acuity fades, his sharpness dissipates. So even though he no longer accesses his Torah, still you should treat him the same way as you would a great Talmid Chacham, because the broken tablets were also stored in the ark. That's the one angle to this lesson. But what the Moshe Chochmah says is, he says, Dafka, the tablets made by God are broken. Look at them, they're broken. And the tablets made by man are fixed. Why? Because it doesn't matter who makes the tablet. It doesn't matter about the holiness of the thing. The first ones came at a time and you destroyed the Torah. You built the golden calf. Then the tablets too are destroyed. The second ones came at a time of Teshuvah, when you came back to Hashem. Those tablets can be kept. That's what makes it holy. The holiness is not in the thing. Right? The red strings and this and that. And we love to have these things and to think that you can have, if this thing, then that's it. If I do this thing, that's the key to the world to come. If I buy this, if I do this, if I give this, if I say this. It doesn't work like, we'd love it to work like that. It's easier if it works like that. If we can fixate on something as our proxy for God, for holiness. There are no shortcuts, my friends. It doesn't work like that. If you want to achieve holiness, you achieve holiness through inner work, through outer work, through connecting to God, through purifying yourself, through goodness to others, through self-discipline and strength, through all of the things that we do. No shortcuts. There's no magic formula. There's legends like you go to the Arizal's mikveh and now you guarantee that you'll get into the world to come. It doesn't work like that. What they say is you go to the Arizal's mikveh, then you're guaranteed to do teshuvah before you die. Well, if that's the case, then it's not the mikveh that gets you into the world to come, it's the teshuvah. Right? It's the inner work that you do. It's the way in which you change yourself. We cannot fixate on other objects as a substitute for the real work of holiness, for the real work of helping people, of doing good, of bringing Hashem into the world, of becoming wise, of studying Torah. There's no substitute for that. There's no tablets that can do that for you. These are things ultimately you must do yourself. Shabbat shalom.